Right, hello everybody and welcome to Trafford Golf Centre. I'm Matt Fryer and today I'm here to help you improve your golf game. So there's three things, obviously by the title of this video, that we're probably doing wrong as golfers, and it comes down to actual conceptions and understanding what we're trying to do in the golf swing. Now, when I get people down here for lessons and have a chat with them initially, trying to find out their ideas about the golf swing and how it functions, what we're trying to achieve with it, sometimes the ideas are slightly off, and it tends to be more with the beginner golfer, you know, people coming just into the game, or higher handicappers still sometimes have this idea of what we're trying to do in the golf swing that's leading to some issues. So one of the first things, obviously, as we play the game, it's a ball to target game. We're trying to advance our golf ball as close as possible to the target and then put it in the hole at the end of the hole. Now, as we do this, unlike any other sport, we actually stand side onto it. So as I take my address, I'm now actually inside of the golf ball. I'm not stood directly behind it, looking at my target from down the same line as the ball. I'm actually inside and looking across towards my intended target. And what we'd have is something called our ball to target line, which is a straight line where we see our ball going towards our target. Ideally, we'd like to hit it straight, and this is where this misconception comes from. But because we're inside it, we tend to put some curvature on the golf ball. It's not the easiest thing in the world to hit a straight golf shot. But the idea of trying to hit golf shots leads us into our first problem. And that is that when we've built a good setup, we've got good posture, good grip and other things like that, we then try and move the golf club on a straight line. So we'd swing up in a straight line, swing down in a straight line to hit it, and then follow through in a straight line. Now the problem with this is each club is designed to sit on an angle. As we can see here, you'll see this angle that this club's sitting on there. And the reason for this is because as we're going through our sets, it's designed to work around our body on a specific angle. So we can apply the golf club back to the ball to get the best possible contact and the maximum distance we'd like to achieve with our golf swing. So the idea of actually swinging it in a straight line is going against what actually the club is built for, and that is for swinging on an arc around our body. Now, as you go through your set, unless you've got a one length set, what we'd see is something where the driver is flat, and then we'd see something where, as you're going up towards your sand wedge, the clubs are getting more upright. So we have a flat driver, and then as we go through the set, they're just progressively getting more and more upright. And as we're at driver as well, it's a little bit longer and going to a sand wedge that's shorter. And as I say, these irons and woods are all sat at a different angle, and that determines pretty much the angle that our club is going to travel around our body. Now, if you think of swinging it up in this way, and one of the common phrases I'll find once we change this conception and actually get people swinging it more on the arc, is that it feels a lot easier. It actually, oh right, yeah, that actually works around my body a lot easier. Instead of picking it up solely with the arms, we're inside the golf ball and we're trying to make a rotational movement. And as we do this to a good standard, what we'd see is the club working on a good arc. So that's the first misconception, that we actually are swinging the club up and down in a straight line. Now the second one feeds in very nicely to this, and that is to do with our club face, where our club face is looking throughout the golf swing relative to our ball to target line. And again, you know, thinking that it would be easy if we hit straight golf shots all the time. If I could aim my club directly at the hole and hit it straight, get the right distance, it's going to be pretty simple from there. Unfortunately, the game isn't that simple. And what happens again with this misconception is that people are trying to keep the face looking at the target line all the way through the golf swing. So even after they've hit it, they've still got this face looking at the target line. And that's going to lead to some issues as well. If we couple that with an upright swing where we're up and down, and then a face that's looking to the target all the time, it's generally going to be open, and we'll see some inconsistencies in our ball flight. We're going to see some curvature. So as we know now that the club swings on an arc around our body, what actually happens with the club face is, in the perfect world, is that the face is actually square to that arc all the time. So if I were to just stop halfway back, you'd see now that my face is actually pretty close to where my spine angle would be in a good setup, because it's actually working square to my arc all the way around. So as I get up to the top of my golf swing, what we'd see is something now where it's square to my lead wrist and square to that arc again. And as it's coming down, all that's happening is it's just releasing, tracking square to the arc, tracking square, and it's only briefly at impact and address that that face is actually looking at the target. Once it hits, it would now then start to rotate over and start to look left of the target, because the arc is working inside left of my ball to target line. And if my face was square to that, the face would then start to look left also, not at the target line the whole way throughout the golf swing, and see that it's actually always pointing at the target line. So there's two big ideas of how we're going to swing the golf club. And if you can get these into, you know, your thought process and understand that we're working it on this arc and our face is working square to the arc, this is going to help you hit a lot more consistent golf shots. You're going to see less curvature on the golf ball, and you'll see that you get better strikes as you're doing it. And also it should feel generally that that swing's a little bit easier as you're going through. So we're working it on an arc, and we're also letting the face stay square to that arc as we go through. And if we can do that, we'll see not a bad golf shot like that one. So actually understanding the next one is more of a concept, goes against logic really. And now we understand obviously that the club is swinging around us on an arc, and that face is actually working square to the arc and not square to our ball to target line. The third piece of the puzzle, and if we're talking about iron swings, it's actually how we impact it, what we're doing in terms of whether the club is coming down into the ball and turf, or are we helping it up. And one of the, one of the big misconceptions, and it goes against logic really, is that we actually hit down on the golf ball to get it up in the air. So, when I speak to a lot of beginners and sort of higher handicappers, we'll see a lot of things when they're making good golf swings. They can move the club around us in the arc we want to and release the face how we want to, but they're still trying to actually help the golf ball up in the air by leaning back and scooping, and actually seeing that we're impacting the ground before the golf ball and not after the golf ball, like we would like to see with an iron. And it is a little bit, goes against logic really. We're trying to get the ball up in the air, get it into a nice flighted position to give us maximum carry and maximum distance, but we're trying to hit down on it. So the reason for us doing that is because the club has loft on it, it has grooves on it. So when we do this, and with the force we actually create with our club head speed, that'll impart the backspin, which helps us get the ball up in the air. So, clarifying that, and like I say, this is probably the third biggest mistake I see a lot of my amateurs and a lot of beginner lessons definitely go for, is the trying to help it up through the iron swing. So what I'd like to do is like to see that you're trying to hit shots where you're almost hitting down on it. Now we want to take a divot when we're on the, when we're on grass. It doesn't have to be a big divot. It might be that it's only a small one after the golf ball, but we do want to be hitting down on it. And I think it's good to clear that up, because sometimes, when I get lessons out on the course, they're almost afraid of taking a divot as if it's a big no-no. But we are able to actually hit down, ball, then turf, and take this divot. So to do that, it's that the weight's transferring into the lead foot. We're getting that good strike, tiny divot, and then going through. We're not seeing that we're actually getting away from target and getting the weight transferred away from the target. So a great drill for this is putting in, the chalk line in front of the golf ball, here we'd see we put the chalk line in, have some practice swings, and see that we're starting to take that chalk as we go through it. And then once we get into it, like I say, we're going to try and hit down on the golf ball now. Let's get the club actually descending into the back of the ball and then bottoming out just after the golf ball for a strike just like that one. So 3 common things, 3 big mistakes that golfers are making in the golf swing. Number 1, we've got that we're trying to swing the club in a straight line up and down. Number 2, that we're trying to keep the face square to the ball to target line the whole time. And number 3, we're trying to help the golf ball up in the air. If you can work on those 3 things and understand the concept of those 3 things, you should see that you start to hit better golf shots once you get those things actually happening in your golf swing like I've described there. Guys, if you like the video, give the like button a hit for me. Also, if you do want to subscribe to the channel, it's totally free. Loads of tips to help your game. And if you do want to come and see me at Trafford Golf Centre, all the information's down below. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.